A young mother just days from giving birth to her second child found burned to death in her own home. Her suspicious death is now a homicide. For the very latest, let's go to Phoenix and Matthew Henley. He's a staff writer with the Phoenix New-Times. Matthew, take us through this terrible story from the beginning.
Hi. Well, you know, Dwandarius comes home, claims he sees the windows thick with smoke. He calls 911 to report the fire, says he was unsure if his pregnant girlfriend was inside the apartment, but didn't want to check because, quote, he feared being burned and leaving his children orphaned. So he sat in his car in the air conditioning while police arrived. Fire personnel found Shaniqua in her bedroom, bound and on fire.
Let's go, if we could, to Sergeant Trent Crump with the Phoenix Police Department. He's the spokesperson there. Sergeant Crump, thank you, first of all, for being with us. I know you're in the middle of all of this. Describe,
sure,
if you could. I understand there was accelerant used on this poor woman. Can you describe sort of what accelerant it was? Do you know what it was at this point?
Well, we're alleging at this point that it is a lighter fluid. The suspect, during an interview, indicated to us that a couple hours before this homicide had taken place, that at a store nearby he had gone and purchased 2 rolls of duct tape and a bottle of lighter fluid. Some of that evidence was recovered, and to date some of it hasn't been, and specifically the bottle of lighter fluid was not recovered. But with the use of our crime lab, and at least at the scene, the fire department and an accelerant detection dog, we were able to determine that accelerant was used.
One of the things I think is striking, and I'm sure obviously it alerted you guys, Sergeant Crump, right away, he's sitting there in this air-conditioned SUV, as we're hearing. She's inside, dying. And also, I understand there were some reports, too, that he claimed he saw smoke, and that's what he called, 911. But then what, your officers didn't see smoke from the outside? There are a lot of questionable things here.
Yeah, and that's what really led us to start looking at him in the first place. We're at this scene, and as he's telling us that he didn't enter this apartment, which we can all second guess and Monday morning quarterback at this point, but understand that when he tells us that he doesn't enter because he smells smoke and because he can see the fire inside the unit, you have to realize that this is something that our officers didn't see, that the fire department doesn't see until we enter the home. And also, about an hour before this incident, we had residents that were calling the management company because of a smoke or fire alarm. These are individuals who were checking that particular building and who couldn't see or hear or smell this smoke. And so right from the get-go, the story had problems.
So right away, you go, okay, there's a lot of questionable things here. What about neighbors? What did neighbors see? You talk about that they heard this fire alarm. Did they see anything suspicious? Did they see him doing anything kind of strange earlier in the day, Sergeant Crump?
Well, no, not specifically as it relates to that. I mean, he had indicated that he was visiting with some neighbors earlier in the day, but he didn't get off work until about 1 o'clock that afternoon, and now we're out there now in the 4 or 5 o'clock hour. And so during part of that time, he's alleging that he was at a Burger King, and then another part of the time we know that he's over buying these items that were used in this homicide. But we're not getting information from neighbors other than hearing the smoke detector or the fire alarm that was going off that they knew of or heard anything that would lead them to believe what had occurred in that apartment.